Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. And yes, this is a bonus episode on, a snowy Friday morning in New York City.
It's really breaking news.
Yes, this is breaking news. It's a special event. I figured I had to get it out there. I wasn't going to wait till tonight to our live stream. And, you want to support the people in this community that need the support. And in this case, that person is Darlene, well-known artist, dating back to the early days of TSR. This is actually my second attempt at doing this because first attempt I was actually using the Facebook page of Darlene's post, and the problem was that people kept on popping in to PM me to tell me about Darlene's article. So, without further ado, what does Darlene have to say about TSR3 or new TSR or whatever you want to call them? In December, I finally reviewed the contract Justin Lanasa wanted me to sign. That's when I took a stand and gave this answer. I prefer not to be directly involved in any way with your lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast. Therefore, I do not give permission to use the Wizard Head logo. Okay. Interesting, right, folks? For the longest time, I tried to remain neutral, aloof, and unaffected. I wanted to avoid being associated with the bombastic claims of the new TSR. JL, Justin Lanasa. She always refers to after this as JL. I'm just going to say Justin. It rolls off the tongue better. And besides,
there's no confusion there.
So there's no confusion, and I consider Justin to, at the very least, to be a close enough acquaintance at this point that I can call him Justin. Justin first responded with a denial. We are not planning on having you in the lawsuit. This is why we ask for your permission. All right. Then a guilt trip. We really tried to bring something back with TSR. Then play the underdog card. It seems like Wizards of the Coast and their supporters have a lot of fear and sway amongst the industry. By the way, I am not a supporter of Wizards of the Coast, except in this legal action. We should be clear about that. And that's because TSR is just wrong. But it's upsetting if Justin thought I would be stupid enough to sign a contract without reading or comprehending it. Now, it is upsetting, but it is par for the course for Justin / new TSR. We knew last year that they were looking to have artists sign effectively blank contracts where the terms would be filled in after the fact. I wouldn't do that with a family member that I trust.
You just sign this blank check right here.
Yeah, just sign your life and work away. We'll figure out the details later. It's like it almost sounds like trying to recruit baseball players from like the Dominican Republic back in the 60s. Just sign. We'll give you $100 and give your family a new refrigerator. Electricity they don't need. Seriously. So they were looking. See, I got to turn my volume off. The PMs are still coming through. So they were looking for her not to pay attention to the contract that she was signing. In my response, I referred him to item number 3, which obligates me to defend his position in his Wizards of the Coast lawsuit. Now, why would anybody want to sign a contract that forces them to defend somebody else? Why? Why would you? Now, the pressure they are putting on me to reconsider has increased. Ernie Gygax thinks granting my permission for them to use the logo, which, by the way, they are already using anyway. So that would lead me to believe that the thought process at TSR is we already have the rights to this. So why do you need Darlene to sign a contract? Well, they believe it is key for their successful arbitration. He intimated if I don't give in, sign away my rights and take their money, I'd be hurting some people I really care about. He also suggested I can up the ante for double the amount initially offered. Well, I mean, that would be tempting, right? I don't know what the initial offer was, but hey, double it just because you're saying no. That sounds, I don't know, potentially like a good deal, or it also sounds potentially like desperation, right? Now, Justin has since amicably proposed to work out a contract that excludes me from the lawsuit. He's been very nice and cordial to me throughout. Good. Nevertheless, you knew there was a nevertheless coming. The contract will most likely retain the first sentence where I declare that I have not previously transferred my rights to any entity or party. That, there, folks, is the line that they want to prove their case, and they can't prove it. So they need to have somebody else prove it. Now she goes on. What? As I understand it, logos don't work that way. The most important thing to me has not been addressed. As a visual thinker and logo designer, I am very particular about the nuances of what I create. Yes, I designed the original Wizard Head logo back in the 80s. That is not in dispute. However, the logo produced as Exhibit A in Justin's contract, this is the key, folks, is not. Okay, let me repeat that word, folks, just for effect. It is not my logo. It's a bastardization, a grayed out, fuzzy, lesser version of what I designed. I detest the spindly letters used for the Game Wizards. Ugh. Uh, so again, little observation. I've had direct knowledge that there was what's the nice word I can say? A reimagining of the original logos to possibly obfuscate the copyright claim of Witches of the Coast. So the Lizard Man is not the original Greg Bell Lizard Man. Obviously, this logo is not the original logo that Darlene did. Why would you do that? Why would you obfuscate? Why would you uh, change things, but change them so they look like something that they aren't? Why would you do that except if you were trying to hide something, right? So, therefore, I cannot honestly take money for it because I do not and will not claim it as mine. I'm extremely picky about choosing my clients because could probably consider designing a new logo for the new TSR. They would have to demonstrate ethical behavior as a business entity.
Nice.
If all roses were made of gold, I'd have $1 million in my backyard. Yeah. If TSR3, new TSR, were an ethical company, an ethical business entity, we wouldn't be having these videos. I really need something else to talk about if they had any sort of ethics involved, but they don't. Personal opinion. I'm allowed to have such. Don't threaten me with legal action, please. Or at least if you do, make it worthwhile. Um, Ever since they appeared on the scene, the new TSR has been plucking the heartstrings of those who fondly remember the good old days when the hobby was in its infancy. And that is certainly true. Heck, they've plucked the strings of how can we get banned from Gen Con when we founded Gen Con? TSR did not they did not create Gen Con. It was never founded by Gen Con, by TSR. It was founded prior to the incorporation of TSR. So that statement was fallacious, or it was false, even on its bare surface. Before you even go to the fact that the new TSR is not the old TSR, and names are just names, right? Justin's lofty words to honor and remember TSR, the Dragon, Gary, and all the alumni of the old days of gaming sound inspiring, and they certainly do. And there's a significant amount of gamers that hear those words and they go, "Oh, I've been away from gaming for like 30 years, but TSR is still around. Look, the old logos. My God, I can go back to my childhood, my teenage formative years when this was occupied me every weekend of my life." You can't go back because they don't publish anything. Um, and they aren't the original TSR. But back to Darlene. I remain unmoved. I never want to return to Lake Geneva to relive those good old days. If I were to endorse the new TSR, they would have to correct mistakes of the old. They must be kinder and more generous to artists and authors in their employ. Well, we know they aren't from the blank contracts they were asking people to sign. They would show proper respect, listen to, and honor women, both within the gaming field and as consumers, as opposed to having women at your tattoo parlor wrestling grits.
Jesus.
What? Wrestling grits for a promotion? Isn't that the proper way? Isn't that what state law says? I always thought that. Well, in New York, it wouldn't be grits. I don't know what New York would have. We don't have the equivalent of grits.
Oh, I don't know. What would it be?
Oatmeal? You know what? You would have to wrestle in the sludge in the streets behind a bodega.
No, subway train.
Oh, the subway train sludge.
Subway puddle water.
There you go. Subway puddle water. Wrestle in that. And the one that comes out without infection is the winner. So they would be more inclusive and sensitive enough to address the needs of individuals beyond the white male demographic.
Good stuff, Doc.
They would be fair to their customers. Well, they don't have customers right now because they have nothing to offer. That's beyond the point. And transparent in their actions. There is no transparency in their actions because everything is behind the curtain. Okay, even the Star Frontiers, new Star Frontiers, we just saw the covers, right? We didn't see the content. We don't know we know it's a D20 system because somebody pointed it out that they saw the character sheets and it's D20, so God bless you. Besides, the idea of me endorsing TSR, new or old, is laughable. Not always, but in general, I did not have a positive experience freelancing for TSR. Looking from the outside in, I witnessed how the growth spurts of TSR turned it from being an all-for-one, one-for-all company into an uncaring corporate entity with an us versus them mindset.
Doesn't sound much different than how it is today.
No, it certainly is. Well, all right. So they've taken the soul of TSR before it got absorbed and said, that's the TSR we want to be. Not the founding of TSR. We were about gaming. We just want to be about scamming people out of money. I guess they can just issue like numerous box sets of numerous empty box sets. How about that? I'm sure they could produce that. With few exceptions, success brought out the worst in those TSR people, given positions of authority. I witnessed how the creatives got the brunt of TSR's unfair, predatory policies. No, I do not yearn to return to that stressful, hostile, and toxic atmosphere. My memories of TSR are clear because they are frozen to the time I needed to leave Lake Geneva for my own mental health and well-being. I turned my back on the growing number of small-minded TSR people who created and spread malicious rumors and hurtful lies about me, made me feel unwelcome whenever I visited the building, told me my art was not very good, and caused me to doubt myself and my abilities. I left to pursue my MFA and the prospect of new beginnings with no intention of returning. Gary Gygax contacted me in 2005 and coaxed me back. That's when he and I became fast friends. In the years since, I've discovered, for the most part, nothing much has changed for females in the gaming world.
Wow.
An example, Gamergate. TSR's unfair internal practices abusing creators financially seems to have followed the RPG industry. Look at Paizo, folks. How do I know? Having worked as a professional in the real world since 1984, I'm aware of the many disparities. Today, I decided to publicly share my power of no because I recognize this as a teachable moment for the dispossessed. Charged with 42 years of suppressed emotional pain, my no is big and empowered. It includes no to bullying and unethical business practices, no to the unfair treatment and compensation of artists, creatives, and women, and no to taking advantage of the disadvantaged to profit at their expense. My no is also cathartic for me. With it, I officially reclaim those lost parts of myself I abandoned so long ago. To have the courage to take the stance, my desire for money had to be relinquished. Only then could I clearly understand the implications of what saying yes meant. As tempting as a yes would be, it is ultimately disempowering. Compromising my integrity for money is the same as selling my soul. Uh, I'm going to make an observation, and I'm sure it's not going to be well liked, but Ernie, you're in a position right now where I think you're looking at you're selling your soul.
Dang.
Sorry, I hate. I say this to somebody that considered himself a friend before this TSR fiasco started, but if you're putting pressure on Darlene to sign a contract that's not in her benefit because it benefits you and your business partners,
You're not acting with integrity.
you're not acting with integrity. You're not acting as a friend, and that's I'm sorely disappointed. So she finishes out. Therefore, I choose to continue living like I always have, modestly. I choose not to allow temporary feelings of desperation or desperation to rule me, nor compromise the greater truth of who I am. Perhaps I should credit Justin for catalyzing my healing process and helping me demonstrate what feminine power looks like.
Nice.
Darlene, God bless you.
Love it.
Honest to God. Um, I know that wasn't easy. It was certainly heartfelt, and it is certainly eye opening for many. It the eye opening for me had nothing to do with TSR. The eye opening for me was your history in the gaming industry. But I knew what was going on at TSR. I've known it. I've spoken about it. Uh, I'm I'm glad that there are other voices that are speaking about it. In my opinion, we got a shit show, and it's not going to get better. Not at this rate. And folks, if you were going to put money down on this legal action, I think Justin could just have showed you how weak their position likely is if they had to attempt to pay somebody to make a sworn statement that would have helped their lawsuit. And they were willing to pay double their initial offer to do so. Wow. Again, Darlene, thank you. And folks, I leave this to your commenting. Rich and I are, uh, I don't know. Do we still have some effects from COVID, some sinus congestion?
Yeah, maybe little remnants, but nothing
But
stopping us.
I think the brain fog for me has mostly lifted. We shall see how the day progresses. And I'm not telling you, I'm not telling you what to do when it comes to getting vaxxed or not getting vaxxed or wearing a mask, not wearing a mask. Consult a medical professional that knows your medical history, your comorbidities or lack thereof, and be guided by their advice. Be safe, be well. God bless. God bless each and every one of you. God bless you, Darlene. And I will be back again tonight with Glenn Hallstrom, live stream, 8 p.m. I look forward to seeing you all there. Again, thank you very much. Laters.